In this video, we'll walk through all of the audio settings on your new Pioneer in-dash receiver. Even though your particular in-dash receiver may have buttons on the side or along the bottom like this one, and may or may not have a DVD player built in, the on-screen and button operation in this demonstration is identical for the following Pioneer AVH-EX models: AVH-210EX, AVH-201EX, AVH-210EX, AVH-211EX, MVH-200EX, MVH-300EX. So from any source, and I'm on the USB audio source right now, I'm going to touch the gears up here, and let's come down to the speaker or the audio settings. The first setting that we see here is the graphic EQ, and for more information on the graphic EQ, there is a full graphic EQ video. Be sure to check that one out for the AVH-210EX. Let's go back up. Next up is our fader and balance control. Let's open that window. And here you can see we can balance to the right or left by touching the buttons here, and we can fade to the front or to the rear by touching the buttons here. We can also move this around on the screen just by touching anywhere on the screen. We'll put it back in the middle for right now. And we'll go back up. Next up is our source level adjuster. Now, if you'll remember at the beginning of this video, we started on the USB source, and that's very important to operate the source level adjuster, because here you can see we're on the USB source, and this can make the USB source a little louder or a little quieter as compared to FM. So if the USB source on any given volume isn't as loud as FM, you can make it a little bit louder by doing that. Or if your USB source is louder than the FM radio, you can make it a little bit quieter as compared to FM. And the idea here is very simple. When I switch between my sources, USB, AM, FM, Bluetooth audio, auxiliary input, that the volume level shouldn't have a big jump up or a big jump down when I switch between those sources. The source level adjuster is so you can balance that out. All of the sources are compared to FM. So please note that if I'm on the AM/FM radio here, and I go back to my audio settings, look, source level adjuster is not there. It's grayed out, unavailable, because you're on the FM radio source, AM/FM radio. If I change to another source, for example, USB, and we go back to our audio settings, source level adjuster becomes available because all of those sources are compared to the level of FM. Let's go back up. Next up is our subwoofer, and right now the subwoofer is switched on, but for right now I'm going to switch the subwoofer off. Now let's scroll down a level here, and look, our subwoofer settings are grayed out. We can't get to them. So let's go back up and switch the subwoofer on, and now check the subwoofer settings are now available to us. So if you come down here and you find that the subwoofer settings are grayed out, make sure that the subwoofer is switched on. Let's go back up. Next up is our speaker level. And this is where we can adjust the volume of any given speaker in the vehicle as compared to the other speakers. So if you want to make the front left or the driver's position door a little louder, you can do that right here as compared to the other speakers without affecting the volume of the other speakers. Same thing with the front right, rear left, and rear right. We can make them a little louder or a little quieter as compared to all the other speakers in the system. Now, this is an important setting for the subwoofer. So if you want to boost up the subwoofer level, but not change its crossover frequencies or its slope or anything else, just boost up or cut the subwoofer level. This is where you can do that, right here on the speaker level screen. Now, let's scroll down one page. Next up is our crossover settings. And you have 3 sets of RCA outputs in this system. You have front and rear speaker level output with a built-in amplifier, and you have front, rear, and subwoofer output for the RCA outputs. Now, this crossover setting affects all of those outputs: front speaker level and front RCA, rear speaker level and rear RCA, and subwoofer output through RCA. So this is our subwoofer crossover. Right now the crossover is set at 25 Hertz. We can choose to raise that up from 25 all the way up to 250 Hertz. Let's bring that back down to 80 hertz, and then we can choose to adjust the slope of the crossover. So right now our crossover point is 80 hertz and our slope is 6 dB or 6 decibels per octave. And we can adjust that from 6 dB per octave to 12 per octave, 18 per octave, 24 per octave, and 30 dB per octave at any given crossover point, which right now we have selected at 80 hertz. When you're done making your adjustments for the subwoofer crossover, you can also make an adjustment to its phase. Right now the subwoofer is in its normal phase. We can choose to reverse that phase as well. Now the phase is a very important tool for setting up the system in your vehicle. You may find that the reverse phase or the normal phase is better for your particular vehicle. Try them both. One may work much better than the other. And if you don't want to use the subwoofer crossover here, you can choose to switch that low-pass filter off. For right now, I'm going to switch the low-pass filter or the subwoofer crossover on, and we'll move over to the front RCA outputs and front speaker level outputs. Here we can switch on the high-pass filter, and the high-pass filter right now is set at 100 hertz. It'll go all the way down to 25 hertz. And it will go all the way up to 250 hertz. And our crossover points can be 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB per octave. So for right now, I'm going to change that crossover point down to 80 hertz. Now we'll switch over to the rear RCA output and the rear speaker level output, and we will switch the high pass filter or the crossover on, and we have completely independent controls over this. So we're going to change this down to 50 hertz as the crossover point, and we'll change the slope to 18 dB per octave. So all three of the crossovers are set there. There's the rear crossover at 50 and 18 dB per octave, the front RCA and speaker level crossover at 80 hertz and 24 dB per octave, and the subwoofer crossed over at 80 hertz at 30 dB per octave. When you're done making your settings there, let's go back up. Next up is our listening position. Right now listening position is switched off. Let's switch it on, and we can choose from 3 different positions. All speakers in the front driver's side, or the front passenger side. And the listening position will help to focus that stereo image toward that particular seat in the vehicle. If you want to focus to all the seats in the vehicle, you can choose all. For right now, I'm going to choose to focus that image toward my seat, which is the driver's side front left. Let's go back up. Next up is time alignment. And we'll go in here. So you can see that time alignment is active right now. And I can change any of the distance to any of the speakers in the vehicle, and this will digitally delay the signal to any of the speakers to make the speakers appear as though they are all the same distance from the listener. So the time alignment system is a digital delay system for each speaker in the vehicle, made to make the speakers appear to be all the same distance from the listener. Because as you can see, your driver's side speaker may be very close, yet the passenger side speaker is very far away. We can delay that driver's side speaker so that it appears to be the same distance away. Let's go back into our settings. There. Now I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to switch off my listening position. With listening position switched off, let's go back into time alignment, and you can see that none of these settings are available because listening position has to be switched on to either front right or front left in order for time alignment to work. So let's switch the listening position on to front left, and now my time alignment settings become available. When you're done making your time alignment settings, let's go back up. And next up is our bass boost. Here we can add a little additional bottom into the system. We can make it a +4, a +6, or back it back down. Let's scroll down to next up is our rear speaker output, and you can see that it's set to rear, but we can't make an adjustment. And so in order to make an adjustment, we need to switch the system off. So let's touch the home button here, and let's choose to power off the system. Do you want to power off the unit? Answer yes. So the system is powering off now. You can see that the illumination has gone out and the screen is out. Let's touch the home button. That'll bring the screen back, but the system is not powered on. Let's touch the gears and go back to our audio settings, and we'll scroll down until we find the rear speaker output. So the rear speaker output can also be set up as a subwoofer output, and this system can operate a small subwoofer on its rear speaker outputs. We can do that by touching here, and now the speaker outputs become, the rear speaker outputs become a subwoofer output for a small subwoofer. For right now, I'm going to use my rear speaker outputs as full range outputs and use the crossover that is built into the system. I'm going to go back now and choose a source. And we'll go back into our audio settings and scroll down to the bottom here, which last one is our loudness control. And loudness has 3 different settings: low, mid, and high. Choose the one that works best for you. For right now, I choose to switch the loudness off. When you're done making your audio adjustments, you can press the X to escape.